practice lab section. That is a Mine tab, Windows Server Operating System and Networking on Server 2016 or 2012. Okay, so on day 3 we're going to talk about installation and post configuration. We are going to install Windows Server and then do configurations about it. And we are going to look at the default settings that we have after installing an operating system. With this one, I'm not going to actually concern about only servers. We are going to look through our workstation. So I'm going to use both the servers and the workstation. When you set up an operating system for the first time, there are certain configurations that are defaults. Okay, so if you want to make any changes to it, you can make the changes to these settings that if you actually want them. Okay, so let's look at the overview. So the overview, we're going to install the Server Operating System 2016 on Oracle VirtualBox. The Oracle VirtualBox has already been installed in our previous section or our previous day. That was day 2. So we are going to install the default settings that we have on our Server Operating System. Then we are going to do the post configuration that we need to know on our servers or on our local or machine. Okay. So let me launch the Oracle VirtualBox. So we have went through this in our previous video. So to create a new virtual machine, okay, so in order to install this operating system on this VM or this type 2 hypervisor, what you need is an ISO, the ISO image file. So I've shown you all those files, the Microsoft Windows Server 2016 or 2012, and then the Windows 10 client, whether Pro or Enterprise. Okay, so this is one of the ISO image that I'm talking about, the image file. You can see that it has an extension of .iso. Okay, so after downloading the server operating system from the internet, this is how it's going to look like. All right, some people might have it in a different form, and this looks like a disk. Okay, so let's actually set up this virtual machine. So in order to set up a virtual machine on Oracle VirtualBox, click on New. You have to supposed to specify the name of the VirtualBox. So what the name that you want to give is like Windows Server 2016 2016 practice lab. Okay, so that's the name you're going to give it to the virtual machine. Okay, and the second option, this is the location or there's a directory that is going to store the files of this virtual machine. By default, going to look at the C, okay, and then the username, whatever the username that you have, and then the VirtualBox. All right, so okay, so this is maybe if I don't want to install this on a C drive. Okay, if you don't want to install this on a C drive, just click on the drop down arrow, then says other. Then you navigate through where you want to store this. I always don't want to store these files on the C drive or the partition, so I have created a file on then the E drive. So I have a VirtualBox, the practice lab, that's a virtual machine. Okay, this is the file that I want to install, so I'll just select it. So now I've changed the path or the location that I want to store this virtual machine. Okay, then the third one is to select the image. I don't want to select the image file right now, so I'll just leave it as blank. Then the type is this what type in terms of operating system is going to be whether Microsoft Linux, Serverless, or any of these, or whether Mac OS. Then look for the version of the operating system. So we have a whole lot of version here from 95, I think from 95 up to the others. So we are looking for the 2016. You can see that we have Windows 2016. It's actually referring to the Windows Server operating system. Alright, so then let's select this one. Then click on next. you are going to look up to the hardware configuration. The system will detect and has given us 2 gigabits of RAM. All right. So this is the 2 gig that's actually given. You can increase it either you click and drag, or you can increase by using the drop down arrow to increase the size of the RAM. So for now, let me give it 3 gig RAM, 3 gig, so that it will just run faster for us. All right. Okay, so let me use the 3080. All right. And this is the processors. We have 4, mine is 4, so either I can choose to give it 1, or I can just increase it by. So let me leave it at the way it is. And this is talking about the size of the hard disk that you want to give, or we want to set it up for our virtual machine. And by default, I'm supposed to have 50 gigabytes of the size of the hard disk. If you want, you can increase it as any as you want. It's and up to 2T, that's the 2 terabytes. So you can increase it by just roaming, or you can just delete this value and then give it any value that you want. Okay, so I'll leave it as a default, and I'll click on next. It's going to give us a summary of whatever that we have actually done. If you don't want to make any changes, if you want to make any change, you can click on go back. If not, just click on next and then finish. So this is the preview of the server that we have actually created, or the virtual machine that we have actually created. It is not going to start because we didn't import the image file. I'm talking about this image file. Okay, it is not actually here, so we can run it. So if you want to start this virtual machine, just click on start. All right, so you are going to get this window here. So window is actually requiring you to just import the ISO image, import this file. All right, so with this drop down, there's a drop down here. You just click on it and then you search others. I've already selected it, so that is why you are seeing them here. So just go to others. It's open File Explorer for you. Then you have to navigate through where that image file is. If you download it from the internet, you see it on the download, or if you have actually have this ISO image somewhere else, you can just navigate through and then see it. Right, this is an enterprise. That's not what I need. I need different things. So Windows Server 2016, then I'll click on what select, then I'll click here, so you can see that it has appeared here. Then click on mount and try the boot. So that's loading a file. So let me just maximize it. So it is the same way when you are installing Windows 10, Windows 7, or Windows 8 or whatever. Then click next, install. Okay, so this was the edition that we talked about earlier in the previous video. We talked about the editions that we have, or the flavors that we have on the Windows Server operating system. So this is the operating system, the standard evaluation, with desktop experience. We have the standard, so the data center evaluation. Then you have the data center evaluation with desktop experience, and you can look to the architecture that we have, and then you have the date of modification. All right. So per our last session that we talked about previously, we said we're going to use the standard evaluation with desktop experience. So we choose this one and click on next. And these are the licenses terms. If you want, you can read through. So just accept it and click next. We have 2 types of installation mode that we have. We have the upgrade and then the custom installation. Okay, so we are setting up a new machine for the first time, so we are supposed to choose custom. But if you already have an operating system that is actually running, but you have to upgrade that system, you have to choose upgrade. that we are using or setting it up brand new or new for us. Okay, so we have to use custom. You can see that on a hard disk, we actually on the virtual hard disk we allocated 50 gigabytes of space. So this is the 50 gigabyte that we are seeing here. Just click on next, and you are good to go. The installation is going to complete. It will take some time. Sometimes it depends on the speed of your processor and then the allocated RAM that you actually allocated for this virtual machine. Okay, so it's going to take some time. So I won't come back when the installation is being done. Okay. Okay, so when the installation is done, it needs to restart the system. So either you leave it or just click on restart. Don't press any key on your keyboard or to start all the processes again. So leave it. When you make a bootable drive to set up an operating system, when the installation is done, you have to take off the drive. Okay, so per the our installation on the VirtualBox or the Type 2 hypervisor, we have to just, there's a disk here at the bottom here. Okay, this is the disk, so you have to take the disk out. Else, anytime you try to turn the system, I'm going to tell you that press any key to boot from a CD, and maybe you accidentally press the key, so it's going to start the process again. So you just have to take the disk out. So remove the disk, take the disk out. Okay, so now you are free. So we are still waiting for the process to proceed. Okay, we are just setting up our installation. So our system is set up. I told you earlier that it's quite different when you are setting up a Windows 10 operating system. So what you are going to need here is the password for the administration. So the type, say that type a password for the built-in administrator account that you can use to sign into this computer. So there's a username administrator. You can change this one unless you use a group policy to do that, but that will be done later unless it's convenient. So the password I'm going to use here is it should be 8 characters or more, or 8 characters, let's assume. So this password is supposed to match, else it won't work. So let's click on finish. Okay, so we have just set up our new server operating system. Yeah, you can't press on enter key on the keyboard to actually take you through to let you sign in. No, unless that is why I say that press Ctrl Alt plus Delete to unlock it. So on the tab you have key, then you can just click on inserts here, or you can use the host plus the host is referring to the, if you have on your keyboard we have the right control key and then the left control key. You can click on the right control key and then press on the delete key on your keyboard. It will actually take you there. So this leading me here is the control key. That is what I normally use. I'm going here to the input, go to the keyboard and insert this. Okay, so the administrative password that you just created just a few seconds ago, that is the password that you're going to use to log into the system. All right. Okay, so if you're going through this process, welcome, and I think you have done well. So you have actually set up your new virtual machine on your system. So this machine is going to be like a guest machine. All right, so congratulations for that. We are going to do some one or two settings on this. We can have our server look like this anytime you want to scroll up and down to, because if it's like this you can see the taskbar, so you have to scroll up and that is not what you want. Okay, So what we are going to do is right now, before we go to the post configuration, because before we go to the default settings, okay, so let's click on yes. This is the server manager dashboard is going to set up. So let's wait for it to set up first, and we'll see what you can do. Okay, so the refreshment has done. The refreshing of this manager dashboard has been successfully. So let's go back to our slide and see the post configuration. So this is the IP address that we are going to use for a server. Bear in mind that servers dynamic address, they use static. Okay, so what we're going to do is that we're going to give this server operating system an IP address. Then this IP address is going to be like a static IP addresses. I'm going to show you how you can just configure addresses, IPv4 addresses to systems. I'll be using the local machine. So on here on your virtual box, you can also do the same. So you're going to set up the time zone. How to set up a time zone? That's one of the basic skills that you can have, or one of the IT basic skills or computer literacy skills that you can have. Okay. Then we're going to configure the IP addresses on the local server. So this is the address that we're going to give, and then we're going to change the default name in the domain. We are going to talk about the virtualization. So I'm going to leave this one to the next session. All right. I don't want the video to be all that way long. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to leave this post installation configuration. Okay, so in order to change your time zone, right? How can we change your time zone? So somebody asks you that, hey, my time, it seems that my time is supposed to be this, but the time has changed to 7 p.m. But that is not the time that you want. That is not the time that I'm actually recording this video. It's in the dawn. So how come this time is 8 p.m.? No. In order to change the time, I'll show you the shortcuts. Use the Windows key plus R to open the RAM wizard. Then type time bit the CPL. I'm going through the CPL means the control panel. Okay, so instead of me going about 5-6 steps for me to do that, I can use this on this side, and it will just work fine. So it will take me to this clock, and then this, and I can change the time. I can change the date. Today is Wednesday, so I can change it. I think it's 3 something a.m. So I can press on OK. So let me change a.m. Let me change it. So if I drag to the pattern, you can see that the time has changed. So this is the shortest path. Not using the Windows. You can also use command prompts to launch that the time and dates. So the time dates cpl, it also launches for you. All right, so any of these two, I think it will be your choice to make. Then the next one is the configuration of the IP address. I already told you that IP addresses that is needed for the server is supposed to be static. It's not supposed to be dynamic. Okay. So before I do the assignment of the IP addresses, let me show you something here. When it comes to this virtual box, there are different kinds of network that we have in virtualization. Okay, so I'm going to show you where we can find this. When you land the VirtualBox manager, go to settings, then go to networks. The adapter is adapter 1. Okay, it attached to what? The NAT. When you talk about the NAT, that's the network address translation. It's actually directly connected to the internet. Okay, and this is actually talking to the host machine. That is the Windows 10 operating system. That's talking to this host machine. Okay, so that is the NAT that we are talking about, and it's directly have access to the internet. And we have the bridge. Bridge is like creating a gap. There's a two different virtual machine. The bridge is like, let me bring it down. The bridge is like you can talk to other virtual machines on when they are joined to a network. So when they are in the same zones or something like that, that is how the bridge will look like. So that is the bridge that we are going to talk about. So this means that bridge can actually talk to other virtual machines and can talk to the host machines as well. So far they are in the same class or the same IP address range. So what we are going to use is they are going to use the bridge. And when you select the bridge, it will actually select the adapter that we have. The first one is the Ethernet. Then the next one is the Wi-Fi or the wireless adapter. So I'm using the Ethernet, so I'll choose the gigabit network connection. Then I'll click on OK. So now you can see that it has changed. Alright, so let's minimize this. So how can we change or configure IP address to this server? In order to change it, or in order to give IP address to this server, just right click on here. You can see on the taskbar heading to the right corner, there's a notification, heading to the notification area. You can see there's like a computer with a cable, something like this, with a euro triangle on top of it. Okay, so you right click on it and choose what? Open Network and Sharing Center. So to pop up this wizard or this windows for you, then you go to, on your left pane, select change adapter options. So you can see that we have Ethernet adapter here, the one that we just selected. So right click on it, then choose properties. Here we have so many connections here, but they are not we are not going to use the IP version 6, so let's untick it. So let's configure the IP version 4. You can see that it's grayed out. You see this a lot. When you see something like that, it means that the address or this machine is actually receiving an IP address from a DHCP server. That is why it has been taken as an automatic. Okay. So, do you have any DHCP server on our network? Let's see. Because when we talked about IP address on day 1, there were IP address that were reserved that I talked about. So let's try to see. So let me go to systems, let me go to command prompt, and let me go to IP config. In order to change the configurations of the IP addresses or the systems that you have done, in order to check the configurations of the internet protocol, what the command that you're going to need is ipconfig internet protocol configuration. Then let's press and enter. Does this address look familiar to you? If it's that, what type of IP address is this? It has been reserved. It's a reserved address. This actually means that this system is requesting for IP address from a DHCP server and network, but there was nothing like DHCP server available to lease an IP address to this server. That is why it's having a 159.54.254. Okay, so this is the IP address that is having here. So in order to change this, you have to set up our own. We are saying that the servers use what is called a static. They don't use dynamic addresses. So per the address that we were trying to use was 192.168.1.200. So we click here 192. Each space before the dots where the cursor is blinking must contain 3 different digit values. Okay, so after 3 different digit values, if the 3 different digit values are there, if these are 2, it will never move to the next one unless the values are 3. So 192, it moves to the next one. 168, move to the next one. .1, have you seen it not moving unless the values are 3. So if that is the case, either you press dot on your keyboard or use the mouse to just click here. So any of them. So if I click on dot, it will just move here. So that's the address that we are going to use, 192.168.1.200. I can press either on my tab key on my keyboard, or I will use the mouse pointer, then I'll just click it. It will do what is called autocomplete of the subnet mask that we talked about. This is a class C, so it's going to be based on the class C. Okay, so when I click here, it will autocomplete it for me. We don't have a router on our network right now, so just skip this one. Let's look at the DNS. The domain was going to do what's the DNS address that we need for here. We are going to use the same address that we have used for the network. Okay, so it's going to be the same server IP address, 192.168.1.200. This is the primary IP, that's why it's have name as preferred DNS server. Then the alternative you can talk about, you can use the localhost. This is the localhost address. So this is the configuration that we have actually done here. Okay, so 192 will be the main server. So this address becomes static for the server. It does not change. So let's click on OK, and let's click on close, and click any open window. So let's clear the screen. In order to clear the screen, then you use CLS. It will just clear the screen. All right. So IP config, and let's see. So now you can see that the 169.254 is no more working again, but it's currently using the current configuration system for the configuration for this particular adapter. Okay. In order to get more details about this specific adapter, use a //or, which will give you the more details about it. Okay. So you can see that this is the preferred 192.168.200.1.200. This is a subnet mask, and you can have the DNS and the secondary DNS, and you can look at the host name of the address. Okay. So change the default computer name. How can we change the default computer name? This is supposed to be under here, the default settings that we actually talked about. Okay. So you let me talk about this default computer before I just change it. You have settings on the server's operating system, not only the servers, on the client's operating system as well. When you install the operating system for the first time, that's a Microsoft OS. We have the name, computer name. These names come out with this. So this is the default value. So let's see where we can find this. And even you can see that we have the win, that's the host name. I'm using the command prompt for that. The win, you can actually see that we have the win and then the random strings. All right. So the win m, the -m550d. This is the using the command to check the host name. If you don't want that, let's use the file explorer to clarify that. You right click on this PC, go to properties. You can see the same thing that we saw on the command prompt. You can see the same thing here. All right. So this is the default setting that's going to have. The next one we're going to talk about the IP address is assigned. That one you have already looked at it, because when we just saw that earlier, we see that that site has been grayed out. This means that the IP address has been assigned by a DHCP server, but unfortunately there's no DHCP server on the network. So we got an address of 169.254. Okay. So this setting has been changed. It's left with this one. The name has not been changed. How can change the computer name? Then we look whether this server is actually in a work group or in a domain. Work groups like computers that are joined that are actually sharing the files, resources, but they are not on a server. So there's no client and the server relationship there, just like a client and a client. All right. So to check whether this computer is in a domain, just right click here, property, the same process. You can see that it's in a work group. And do you remember when I was checking on our previous, when I was checking whether my virtualization is enabled or not? How you haven't forgotten about the command systeminfo.exe or systeminfo, any of these will work. Now you can see that the logon server, this is the name. Is it the domain? No, it's not in the domain, it's in the work group. Okay, so there are so many ways to kill a cat. All right. Then the next one is the roles and features. Which roles have they been installed on the server? Which features have they been installed on the server? We'll talk about that one later, so I'm going to reserve the side. And we have another which is called the remote desktop. Let's assume I want to remote into this server, and this feature has not been enabled on this server. It won't be possible for me to actually log in or remote into this server operating system. All right. So where can we locate whether this is actually enabled or not? By default, it is disabled. Okay. So under the control panel, the security system and security and other systems, when we come to remote settings, you can see that don't allow remote connection to this computer, which means that it has been disabled. But if you want to allow a remote connection to this machine, you have to click on what? Click on this side, and then it will actually what? Enable it for you. Okay. So these are the default settings that we have when we set up a server for the first time. So let's go back again and continue. So how can we change the default computer name? How are we going to do that? In order to change the desktop, or sorry, in order to change your computer name, there are two ways that you can change it. One, I'm going to use a command, and two, I'm going to use the GUI method, that's the graphical user interface method, to do that. So first, I'm going to use a graphical way of showing how we can change the computer name. So what is going to be the name of our server? How are we going to name it? Are we going to name it like server 01 or domain controller or whatever? So let's change the name. The same process, you right click on this PC, under the file explorer, choose properties. I'm using the graphical user interface, that's the GUI method, which is click and click and click. And then you choose what? Advanced settings, or either you click that side or you click on change settings. Any of this will work. So I think this one is the shortest path. Change settings. When you click on advanced settings, it will just bring you to advanced and choose here. But when you click on change settings, it will directly take you to this place. So this is the computer name that we have. So let's make it DC01, or DC means domain controller. Alright, this is going to be a domain that's going to control the workstation that's adjoined to the server. Let's make DC01. This actually have a conversion. You can type up to 15, I think up to 15, and there are some characters that you can actually add a tab to it, like something like technicality that you can actually add up to it. Okay. So the when you click on OK, it will still work. When you click on OK, it will ask you to restart the machine. Alright. So the second one I'm going to talk about is the use of PowerShell to actually do that. The power of this shell, this tool is very powerful. So I'll use this one, then I'll run it as an administrator. Let me just increase the font size so that you can see it clearly. All right. Okay, in order to rename this server, we have seen the first step or the first method, that is using the graphical side. So we are going to use the command side to rename it. Okay, so in order to rename, there's a commandlet. I'll talk about this PowerShell commands later on. There's a commandlet that is called a rename. So when you click on rename and press on hyphen, then you press on your keyboard. You let me do it that way. Rename computer. If I say comp, I can press on my tab key to autocomplete because it's going to sense that you have sent the command that you're actually looking for. So when I press on the tab key, it has autocompleted for me. So rename computer, we have a parameter which is called new name. So new, then I type on the name, it's also completed for me. What's the name that I want? I want the DC01. Is that. So when I press on enter key, it says that changes will take effect after you restart this computer. Okay, so there's a command called restart computer. Let's restart the computer. Okay, so let's restart the computer as well. Okay, so we have restarted. Let's come back. And log in with our credentials. Okay, so now we have logged into the server. Let's open File Explorer to check whether it is true that our server name has been changed from the win with the random string value to right click the same process. Let's come here. We can see that. So congratulations, if you are able to change the name of your server or the name of your computer, congratulations. So let's move. I've talked about the virtualization technology that we have. We have the bridge, you have the NAT, and you have the host. If you want more info about this, you can go to online technology that we have. So this is going to be the end of our the day 3 section about virtualization. Then we talked about how to install Windows 7 operating system on this type 2 technologies software, and we did about certain configurations that you can do in terms of IP address, change of name, and then the default setting that is actually built into the system when you just install the operating system for the first time. And thank you guys, and I'm looking forward to do more videos teaching you more about this. And please subscribe to my channel. This is Wiltech by. Subscribe to this channel and leave a comment below, and subscribe to my channel. Click on notification bell for more videos. When I upload or get a new videos, you get a signal of my new videos. All right, thank you. So next time when we come back, I'll just take you through. We don't want this kind of window. All right, that's the first thing we're going to do on our next section. We're going to have a nice space. It will be like fill the whole page. When you see it's like you're running Windows server operating system, but we are running virtual machines. All right, so that is the first thing that we are going to do when we just come back. Okay, so see you guys and stay safe.